Hello, and welcome to the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast, the podcast redefining women's health, one unfiltered conversation at a time. I'm your host, Jacqueline Rose, and every week I'll sit down with leading women's health experts and real women to share their lived experiences, bust health myths, challenge outdated and uninformed narratives, and explore what's really possible for women. We'll talk about periods, fertility, menopause, hormones, aging, and everything in between. This podcast is for every woman who ever felt confused, dismissed, or left out of the conversation about her own health. It is a space to celebrate women, break the silence, and open up conversations between mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends. Please hit the follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode, and share this podcast with your daughters, family, and friends. Let's get on with the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast. And today I am really excited about the conversation we're going to have. This is one you definitely want to be listening to with your daughters. I have a special guest, Heather. Heather, I'm so happy to have you here. I know we're going to be talking about some really interesting things like cycle syncing, about the role and relevance and importance of our menstrual cycle, things that we don't really talk about. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we'll dive right in.
Okay. Hello. My name is Heather McCarel, and I started out when I turned 40 as a health, fitness, nutrition, wellness coach. I decided that I wanted to get certified as a coach because when I turned 40, I weighed over 220 pounds. I was on medication for anxiety, depression, heavy, painful periods, high blood pressure, cholesterol, hypothyroid, and I was miserable.
All the things, yeah, all the things.
Things, yes. And I was miserable. I hated my reflection in the mirror. I hated my job. I felt like I had no purpose in my job. It wasn't fulfilling. So, and doctors just, brushed it off, gave me the band-aids to, put over top of the symptoms, but were never willing to really figure out what was going on with my body. And I was, at that point, I just made the decision that, if I want things to change, that I'm going to have to take control myself.
Yeah.
And at that point,
it's such a common story with women that they become their own advocates when someone else is advocating for them.
Yes. And that was before I even really learned about my hormones. I learned more as my journey went on. So I became a coach, and then found out how much my menstrual cycle was affecting my workouts and how I felt during my workouts and my weight loss goals and even my stress and how my mind was thinking throughout the month. I learned that all of those things could be attributed to my menstrual cycle. And so I was super passionate and just wanted to yell it and scream it to all the women that I knew. So that's kind of a little bit about me and my journey. Towards the end, I decided, I'm in my mid 40s now and about to experience, a little bit more of the menopausal symptoms. I'm already starting to experience some of them, the night sweats, the brain fog, things like that. So, and getting the weight under control before it gets worse and all of the symptoms progress and things like that. So that's when I decided, you know what, I want to become a menopause specialist too, so we can get ahead of this, because I don't want to go through the nightmares that I heard about from my mother and grandmother. And, this is our time to rewrite what menopause is. It doesn't have to be our mom's menopause anymore.
Exactly. Okay, so there's so much to unpack here. Let's leave the menopause piece of it for a moment, because I really want to go back to understanding this concept of cycle syncing, of understanding the different stages of your cycle, how that impacts you, how you respond in different ways, how you have to show up in different ways, and to understand all of that, and then sort of jumping the gun a little bit to asking you how people have responded to this message. Because I know in the past when I've spoken about, respecting your cycle and working together with your body, and, understand that there are certain times in your cycle where you need different things, I've been accused of being anti-feminist, or I've been accused of, that's not real life. If I'm in a job and if I work, I have to show up and I can't just take to my bed because I've got my period. So let's sort of start understanding what the whole concept is, and then talk to me about how women respond to the concept, because it's really not what we are told and not how we're taught.
It's definitely not. And the way I like to explain it is that we've all heard of the circadian rhythm. We all have a circadian rhythm. It is the 24-hour clock that we've always gone by. Well, this 24-hour clock is also like the male hormone testosterone cycle, right? And as women, we don't just have main one main cycle. Our cycle actually lasts 28 days. This is called an infradian rhythm. So we have two rhythms, the circadian and the infradian, but we've only been taught about the circadian. So that's how we live our lives.
Yeah.
But our energy levels fluctuate with our menstrual cycles throughout these 28 days, along with our metabolism, along with our mood, because our menstrual cycle actually affects 6 major body systems that don't affect men at all. So as our hormones are fluctuating, we might have increased appetite and cravings. We might be more or less tired. We might feel more creative or less creative. And this is just science. So that's kind of how I
It
like
really
to
is and
address.
it's the biology of women, and it's
Yeah.
not what we're told.
And it's not, and we were never taught this.
Yeah.
And so anybody who, wants or, questions that, or, thinks it's crazy or woo woo, it's how women's bodies work. We were not just created to make babies. The hormones that are released during ovulation have many, many purposes for our overall health and vitality. I mean, it's affecting our brain, it's affecting our gut, it's affecting our immune system, our stress response, our metabolism, all of the things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that is something that is not understood, because women have been told, whether it's through subliminal or subconscious messaging, whether it's through overt messaging on adverts and in media, that a woman's menstrual cycle, the purpose is ovulation and the purpose is childbearing. And anything else is really irrelevant to the conversation.
Right, right. But we're learning now that these hormone fluctuations affect everything, every part of our body, and we need to be able to work with these fluctuations, because it's just going to make our health, our stress levels, and everything else so much better, so much easier. And it's also a sign of our health. Our menstrual cycle, our period, can tell us whether we're healthy or unhealthy. Missing that period tells you something is wrong. Or if it's too heavy or too light or too long or too short, that means there's something going on underneath that needs to be addressed. And when we're just given those birth control pills, that's just the Band-Aid over top of the issue. So it's not going away. We're just turning our hormones off, essentially, so we don't get those symptoms, but the issue is still there.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to talk about birth control pills in a second. I just want to understand from you, like, for people who are listening, especially, young girls who may be listening with their mums, How does cycle syncing show up? What does that mean in a very real, practical way over a 30-day cycle or, a 28-day cycle? Sort of what does that actually mean? And what is that sort of what are you required to do if you're living according to cycle syncing?
So the first thing that I always tell women is you need to be tracking your cycles. You need to know day one is the day that you start your bleed. And I'm not talking about just spotting. This is like the gush. You'll feel it. That's your day one. Okay. And then you start counting from there. Our day one of our menstrual cycles is typically our lowest energy day. You probably feel like laying on the couch. If it's not on the weekend, unfortunately, you probably still have to go to work, but maybe don't go out after work. You'll add in a little bit more self care during the times that you can't adjust your schedule based on your cycle and your energy levels. Then, as you start approaching ovulation, so you're still tracking. So we're talking about this is probably the following week. So your menstrual phase is day 1 through 5 or 7-ish, the average cycle. Nobody's cycle is the same. So as we go into that next phase or our follicular phase, this is when our energy is rising. Our hormones are rising. Estrogen in particular is rising. But when you hit ovulation, peak energy, peak socialization, you'll want to go out and hang out with friends. This is when all your hormones peak. So your testosterone, your progesterone, your estrogen, everything's high here. Testosterone's only going to be high for a day or two. And this is when you might feel a little bit more frisky with your partner. Your body is meant to, it's doing that on purpose. And then as our energy levels fall after ovulation, our hormones fall, the progesterone kicks in. Your progesterone is your hormone that balances the estrogen. It's more calming. So you will naturally probably feel less energetic during your luteal phase.
Yeah.
That said, your metabolism is actually faster in your luteal phase, and you can add in some extra calories. But you want to back off your workouts because your metabolism is faster. And so there's different tweaks that you can make to your lifestyle when you know the phases of your cycle, what phase you're
What to
in.
expect.
Right. You'll know what to expect, why you're feeling the way you're feeling. If you start to get PMS, different foods that you can add to your diet to help mitigate and detox some of those extra hormones in your body that are causing the symptoms.
Yeah. So I think this is fascinating. As we said, women do not learn this. It's definitely coming more into the public consciousness, but we have been sort of taught, or there has been this very, a big advocacy for taking the oral contraceptive pill, whether it be for symptom treatment like PMS, acne, mood swings, or for its intended purpose of preventive, as a contraceptive. But also, it was heralded as this great creation to empower women, for women to have the choice of if or when they were going to get pregnant, so that women were able to feel strong and energized and not be limited by this annoyance of this sort of fluctuation. And in a way, this amazing thing that was created and really is given out like candy by so many healthcare professionals. And so many women just assume, well, I'm going to go on the pill. That's just what I'm going to do. It's just what happens. How has that sort of changed the conversation or changed the way that we connect with our body? And why now this cycle syncing seems so foreign?
I think that's a good question. That's a good question. Um, I think that we need to realize again the importance of ovulation. And most of our birth control options prevent ovulation. If it wasn't for that, then it would still be not good because it's synthetic hormones, but it wouldn't be as bad. That ovulation is protecting our long-term health.
Yeah.
So when we ovulate, our hormones are, estrogen, progesterone. They're protecting our brain from dementia and Alzheimer's, and it's protecting our heart from cardiovascular disease. So by being more mindful of what's going on with our bodies, we can be living longer. We can biohack is a term that's being used a lot lately. But that's what we're doing. Um, we don't want to shut down our hormones. We have them for a reason. And so I think the conversation needs to be around what are some other birth control options that don't, first of all, prevent ovulation, that don't act like an antibiotic in our guts and destroy our microbiome, because birth control can do that too. That doesn't prevent us from, gaining muscle as quickly, and things like that. So we need to be looking at the bigger picture and, maybe trying to come up, if, we still want to use a pill because of its convenience, because it is, or IUDs or whatever, come up with a healthier version, a non-synthetic version, would be ideal. I mean, we have bioidentical hormones. Use that bioidentical hormone replacement, if you can, for sure.
So you work with a lot of women who use this phrase that they feel their body is betraying them. And so many women use that phrase. And it's very popular in perimenopause and menopause, because that is when our body is going through a lot of different changes. But I know that it happens at all stages of a woman's life cycle, that feeling that my body isn't doing what I want it to do. It's betraying me. There's anger, shame, embarrassment, judgment, all these emotions around my body that isn't working properly. So what do you say to these women? How do you support these women? What do you want these women to know as you support them?
So your body is not broken. You are not broken. You just weren't taught how to work with it. You weren't taught how to listen to your body. We don't need to push harder. We need to just tune in. The weight gain, the mood swings, insomnia, anxiety, they're signals that something deeper is going on that you need to address. There's always something that you can do. So don't let a doctor brush you off. If something isn't right with your body. You internally know. If you go to the doctor and you tell them, I have these symptoms, they might even do testing and come back and tell you, oh, you're normal, you're in the normal range. Yes. Okay, great. Normal, remember that normal is it's a scale. What's normal for you is not normal for me, which isn't normal for your sister, and so on. So if you don't feel optimal, then speak up. And if your doctor isn't willing to do something, then don't be afraid to go look for another doctor, or look for a coach or somebody who will advocate for you or help you advocate for yourself.
Yeah. And I think that also, because there is an element of a lack of understanding, very unfortunately, in the medical field in general about women's health, women will come in with, let's say, they've skipped a period for 2 or 3 months, and the doctor will be like, okay, fine, well, either you can go on the pill, or maybe you should, lose a bit of weight, or maybe just eat a bit more healthy, or, you're going through a stressful time, it will come back. As you said, ovulation is one of the vital signs that really doctors should be asking about. Periods are one of the things that doctors should be taking more seriously. And that concept of just brushing it off as it's just a blip. It may just be a blip, but it's a blip that's telling me something.
Right. Right. Every symptom is telling you something. So even if you have to keep a journal, a symptom journal, write it down. See if you can notice any commonalities with, something you've eaten, time of the month, your, what phase you're in, how close you are to your menstrual cycle. All these different things will help you uncover and unravel what might be causing the issues. And there's always, testing, hormone testing you can get done as well to really figure out what's going on.
Okay. So as a woman, then, let's just say she's been tracking or she's been paying attention, or let's say she hasn't been. And then we enter perimenopause where everything goes all haywire. And maybe in early perimenopause, you're still having regular cycles, you're still having regular periods with or without symptoms. Usually the confusion is you've got symptoms and you've also got a regular cycle, and then your cycle starts to change. How do we integrate this cycle syncing and this paying attention and this awareness when everything is all now different? And you don't know whether you're going to have a period in 3 months' time or in 6 months' time, or all these different types of natural changes that are happening.
So this is really, I found it pretty neat. It's the moon has its own 28-day cycle. And it also, of course, the moon has energy that affects our tides and water. So as, human beings, we are made up of, 60 to 70 something percent. I don't know the most accurate numbers, but something in that range. We're made up of mostly of water. So the moon itself can also affect us, our moods, our energy, everything like that, just like our menstrual cycles do. So when your cycle starts going wacky, you can, of course, exercise. I always suggest exercise and nutrition tweaks will help. But if you want to try to get, back in line, we can use the moon phases. So a full moon is ovulation. The new moon would be your day one, and start kind of adjusting your lifestyle like you would if you had a menstrual cycle, just by using the moon phases. And you will notice your body getting back into that cyclical rhythm. So it's pretty cool.
So even if you don't know where you are,
yep,
if you follow the moon phases, you allow your body to it's easier to track what's going on. You can get back into tracking.
Right, because your body, whether you knew it or not, has always been in this cyclical rhythm as a female, cycling female. So once your hormones start becoming like a roller coaster, and you might be skipping periods and things like that, it will help you feel less overwhelmed, less stressed out, and find that rhythm again that your body is used to.
Even if you're not ovulating on a regular basis.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
And I guess also that if you've learned in your younger years the tracking and what to pay attention to and noting the change in your body, as things start to fluctuate and become a little bit more chaotic, you've already learned that skill of paying attention.
And you learn how to address these symptoms when they pop back up, because without fail, they probably will at some point, but then you will have already experienced it, and you'll know what you need to do in order to feel better.
So are there some essential things that we need to be paying attention to, some essential things that we need to be tweaking, or the things, let's say, for example, nutrition, that we know over the course of that 30-day or 28-day cycle, we know that nutrition is going to have to adapt and change? What are the things other things that we should be paying attention to?
So we need to be paying attention to our stress. Stress is huge, especially as we enter middle age. Our bodies are less resilient to stress because of the decline in our hormones. And this is also the most stressful time of our lives because we're either raising children, or children are leaving the nest, and we're taking care of our parents, or, our career is at its highest point. So stress management is huge because stress plays a major role in weight and blood sugar regulation and all of that. So that's a really big one. And luteal phase. So the closer you get to your cycle, if you're still a menstruating female, the more you need to be aware of the stress that you're putting on your body with exercise. So that would be dialing back on your workouts. There is a little pushback on that from some people in the fitness industry, which that's fine. If you've got big goals and you want to make big gains, great. But for the normal female, it's okay to, cut back on your workouts during that phase. Sleep is huge. Sleep is when our bodies repair themselves from workouts, from, our immune system rebuilds itself. We detox everything while we're sleeping at night. So we need good sleep. If we're not getting good sleep, then everything else that you're doing is pointless. Sleep is huge.
And we really don't understand the biological importance of sleep.
Yeah. And women, especially these days, I see it so much. It's like, I've got to hustle. I've got to push, especially when you're a business owner, you see it even more. And, you're a business owner and a mom with 3 kids and a wife. And it's like, and you don't understand why that hustle is, and not eating and, pushing your body to the max is not working. Is because your body is stressed to the max. And you know what? It's retaining body fat now because it's in fight or flight.
Yeah, it's protecting.
It's protecting you. Yes. And a potential pregnancy.
Yes. So how have women responded to this message? And because it really does go so against what we, how we've been informed and how we've been educated. What do you find that the initial responses and sort of that, this is anti-feminist because we need to show up and we can't just, work according to how I feel on any given day. So, how do women respond to this?
I think they're intrigued. They're mind blown. A lot of them, as I was when I first learned everything about my hormones and my cycle and ovulation. They want to learn more. They're very curious. So I think it's only going to get, more prevalent. Women are going to be tracking their cycles more. We have the ability to. We don't have to use pen and paper. We've got the technology. There's apps out there. There's fitness trackers out there that you can use that make it easier. So I think that no, it's been a great response so far, and it's very exciting to see women wanting to know about their bodies and wanting to really take charge and not settle for feeling mediocre, because we are worth better treatment, better care.
And I guess women, when they start to see the results, they realize this is something that is making sense.
Absolutely. And it really helps. Like, I'm not saying, don't go to work during your period, or, it's just make adjustments to your day, to your habits, add in a little bit more self-care, give yourself time for a bubble bath, is actually giving you permission to do probably what you feel like you need, and you're not giving yourself that permission to do it.
Yeah.
So we are not many men, we are different. We work differently. Our biology is different. We should not be shamed for that. We should not feel bad for that one bit.
Amazing. Yes, preach, amen. Um, so how does all of this fit with the work you do with menopausal women, and even now, sort of when your cycles, forget about the irregular cycles, but when our cycles stop and when our body really goes through a major overhaul and a big change, is sort of what type of role does cycle syncing play in that later stage of life? And we know that we can be in postmenopause for 30, 40 years. Obviously, our hormones don't disappear. We still have hormones in ours, just playing a slightly different role. So tell me about the work you do with menopausal and sort of the thoughts about postmenopause.
So in postmenopause, you have the options. Like I said, you can cycle sync with the moon if you want, if that helps, if being in that cyclical rhythm really helps you, I suggest it, but you don't have to. There are specific nutrition tweaks that we need to make as we age. We have to be mindful of our calcium and vitamin D levels because of our bone health. We need to make sure we're getting in, the right vitamins and things like that, that we are focusing on building and maintaining our muscle strength. Building and maintaining muscle is huge. Strength training is, what's the word I'm looking for? Strength training is essential. It helps, balance blood sugar. It helps with mood. It helps with cognition. It really helps with everything. And muscle is what's burning that body fat and helping us, keep the figure that we want. Which is really the least important in the big picture of the importance of muscle and strength training. That's huge. So postmenopause, do not be afraid to lift weights ever. Walking, huge. And still, like, managing your stress, getting that sleep. So a lot of the habits are still the same. It's just those little tweaks and making sure that, you're getting the right nutrition, you're getting your exercise, because it's important for your bone health too. The strength training, and you want to have that resistance because it's just making your bones stronger.
It's just, all good overall, good habits and things to keep us healthy and well, and to ensure that we age in a really good way. It's sort of, as you said, it starts because of symptom management and because we want to feel good in our bodies and we want to track and monitor and know what to expect and feel very connected to our bodies. And then by the time we get to postmenopause, this is sort of like already second nature. It's already something that we feel very familiar with. It's already things that we know work because we feel it in our bodies. And so we just continue to maintain these learned skills already from our earlier years.
Right. And two other things that I really like to address with clients pre and post menopause is our mindset and our body image. Because I think that social media has been portraying it in the wrong way for a long time. And especially when we get older, into our 40s and 50s as women, we've got to realize that our body is not going to look the same as it did when we were 20 or 30. It's almost impossible. I'm not going to say it is impossible, but it is almost impossible. So we need to take that and get it out of our minds, and focus on being strong and healthy. And when we focus on being strong and healthy, then that aesthetic will come. And you'll become happy in your body if you focus on being strong and healthy. And the second thing I like to address is your values and setting goals that are aligned with your values before we even get started. Because if your values don't align, or your goals don't align with your values, then it's going to be a lot harder to stick to the plan of getting healthier. And I also like women to think about, what do you want your life to look like in this next phase? Like, anything you could imagine, this is like the next phase of life. So what do you want to do, and set goals based on that? Do you want to be able to travel with your kids and grandkids? Do you want to be gardening? Do you want to be active? So think about how you want your life to look like when you're 60, 70, 80 years old, and make goals based on that.
I mean, it sounds so simple, but it really is things that we don't think about. Even just the thought that you want to be able to get down on the floor to play with grandkids and be able to stand up independently. Like, it's something that so many women don't have. And it seems like such a simple value that is going to impact everything that you want to do. Like, that goal of being able to get down on the floor and stand up independently has real ramifications about the choices you make on a day-to-day basis.
Yes. And the earlier you start training for that now, the better. You'll hear it called like functional strength training. You're squatting, you're deadlifting, you're picking something up, you're farmer carrying, you're carrying like heavy grocery bags, or pressing something, you're putting something in the shelf over your head. So think about those types of everyday movements that you do, and then base your fitness routine on with exercises that strengthen those movements.
Yeah. And as we were talking about that, as you talk about cycle syncing, that you're not going to be able to lift the same or strength train the same way the 30 days of the month. It's just not going to happen.
Yes. And I think that is like one of the biggest things that people think is crazy, is especially men, like, and male trainers. When I try to have a conversation, sometimes it's like, they still think like, no, you can, like, if you picked up, if you lifted 50 pounds last week, you could do it today. They don't understand our energy fluctuations.
Yeah.
And maybe I can, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. I might get in less reps, or maybe it's just not happening today. There's a lot of other factors for women that need to be considered that I don't think have been. They are more and more now, but these studies that a lot of people are using now for fitness routines and diets plans, they were all based on men or non-cycling women, because our hormone fluctuations were too complicated to study.
Yeah.
So they didn't even
they didn't include it. I really firmly believe that unless your fitness trainer or dietitian has asked you, where are you on your cycle today, you should probably go find someone else to go work with. But that isn't even a question that is ever asked. Where are you on your cycle? Always feels like too personal a question. But if you're going into the gym or working with a personal trainer or doing, working with a dietitian or whatever it is, if they're not asking you that, they don't understand the female body. They don't understand how the female body works.
No. And I want women to understand, like, do not question yourself and how you feel. If you know that you don't feel right, or that you're not feeling as good that day, don't let a doctor, a trainer, don't let anyone force you to do something that you don't feel comfortable doing, because that is what's going to lead to injury.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. 100%. You push yourself to a level that you should not be at, because you think there should consistently be an increase in your progress.
Right.
It's not going to happen, in those small increments. It will happen in larger increments over a longer amount of time.
Right.
Yeah. Fascinating. So What do you really wish that sort of midlife women really knew about their bodies? What do you wish that midlife women understood about their bodies?
It's not a problem to be fixed.
Yeah.
It is brilliantly designed. Every symptom, every craving, every shift in your mood and your energy, it's a sign. It's a message. It's not a flaw. It's
Yeah.
something that we need to address.
I love that. It's a message, it's not a flaw. I love
Yes.
that.
Yes. Your power does not come from shrinking yourself. It comes from knowing yourself.
As you said that, you know, all of a sudden I literally had this aha moment that women who are trying to lose weight and make themselves thinner, smaller, what you just said, like women who are trying to shrink themselves, it's it's not just maybe it's not just a physical shrinking. Maybe there's something else that it sort of manifests as a result of that physical shrinking also. Yes, there may be you maybe feel more confident in your body, but what you just said really hit me quite powerfully.
Yeah, it's once we know how our body works, we you can't nothing can manipulate it or you. You know your body. You know what you need. Don't ever let anyone tell you differently. Don't.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. So, this podcast is called Things I Want My Daughters to Know. And I always end our conversations by throwing the question back at my guests. So, let me ask you, Heather, what do you want your daughter to know? Obviously, it doesn't have to be your real daughters, it can be your goddaughters, your nieces, that next generation of women. You know, from everything that you see, from the clients you work with, from this language and knowledge that you really have developed, what do we want our next generation of daughters to know?
Your cycle is your superpower. And
Oh,
if you
powerful.
to tune in, then your life is going to be a lot easier, I will say. You will learn how to work with your body and your hormones instead of against it.
That's really, really powerful. Wow. Heather, is there anything else that you haven't shared with us that you really want to let everyone know? Sort of something that we haven't talked about, something that you really that you've missed that you haven't said?
I don't think so.
No,
They can
it's been
go
amazing.
to on my website. I have a free guide to happy hormones,
Oh,
which
yay.
dives into, nutrition, fitness, stress, sleep, and gives suggestions for all of that. So if
Amazing.
you go to wandercoachva.com and you can just click on the link for my free guide.
Amazing. And we're going to have all of your contact details in the show notes. And definitely, people go check out Heather's free guide on her website. Heather, where can people reach you? Where can people find you? Where are you living in social media if people want to check you out?
So all of the things. So I am in Chesapeake, Virginia, in the United States. I work at Riverview Wellness. If you'd like to work with me, I am also a virtual coach, so you can work with me online. Wandercoachva.com is my website. And Instagram, I am WanderCoach757. And Facebook is WanderCoach.
Amazing. So basically, Wonder Coach on the Google Wonder Coach, and you'll find Heather.
All the versions of Wander Coach.
Amazing, amazing. Heather, this has been a really, really insightful conversation, really helping us to change that women's health narrative, which is one of the things I'm most passionate about. And I really think this is going to help so many women, mothers, daughters to really start understanding this in a slightly different way. So thank you for sharing your wisdom. I really, really appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you for having me on. It was my pleasure.
Of course. And thank you everyone for listening. If you want to reach out to Heather and give her feedback, if you want to reach out to me, if you want to learn more about Heather, you can check her out in the show notes. Thank you for joining me for this episode. And I look forward to welcoming you at another episode of the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast.